Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News. I am Mapita Sibidi. Now, former President John Dramani Mahama has revealed the widely talked about free primary health care captured in the National Democratic Congress's People's Manifesto will cost about 1.4 billion Ghana cedis annually. The NDC flag bearer says he's not discouraged by the cost and has expressed his readiness to implement the policy plan if given the nod on December 7. He's been meeting with professionals and business owners at a professional dialogue put together by the Institute of Social Justice.
We owe the poor and vulnerable groups in our society an urgent transformational solution and not a piecemeal approach. And this is why I urge you to support the free primary health care policy contained in the NDC's People's Manifesto. Free primary health care will emphasize preventive health and health promotion and will include private health service providers. Ladies and gentlemen, free primary health care will be the single largest social intervention under the Fourth Republic. It will create jobs for the young people, nurses, midwives, physician assistants, drugstore owners, pharmacists, doctors, IT professionals, and many others. We estimate to spend Ghana cedi 1.4 billion annually on free primary health care from December 2021.
Former President John Dramani Mahama, there now First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, is asking the electorate in Chobu in the Ga West district of the Greater Accra region to vote massively for President Akufo-Addo for one more term to complete the good works he has started with his Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. Mrs. Akufo-Addo, who toured the constituency as part of her regional tour, assured the people of the construction of a major storm drain to bring an end to the perennial flooding in the area. She also hinted of the resumption of works on the construction of the Sawmill Road by Resource Access Construction Limited. Details in this report.
Pokwasi Market women, the president extends his greetings. He says he will visit you soon.
For Shiki, December 7th. President 2016. One by one.
We have only a few days to the elections, and you have heard a lot concerning what this government, led by my husband, President Akufo-Addo, has done for you in a bid to make life better. He's achieving all the things that he promised prior to becoming president. He's done the free senior high school and is also working towards implementing a no guarantor for student loans policy. There's more in the pipeline.
Now once again, 7 December. For 4 more years.
On December 7, when you go to the polls, remember Nana Akufo-Addo and vote for him so that he can continue the good works he started. Ghana is on the heart of Nana Akufo-Addo, and he will do more when you vote for him. We are moving forward, not backwards. 4 more for Nana.
Far more. December 7th, 4 more to do more for you.
Away from that, visit accident centers at hospitals. Perhaps that will change how you drive. This is a call from the head of emergency medicine at the Komfonachi Teaching Hospital as he joins Joy News and National Road Safety Authority on the Arrive Alive campaign. Dr. Maxwell Osei Ampofo's caution follows increasing cases of life-threatening head injuries the facility continues to record.
Based on what we see here, the number of injuries are increasing. The trend is worrying. There's a worrying increasing trend of head injuries. There's a worrying increasing trend of disabilities from open fractures and then abdominal injuries from road traffic crashes. We will not say what they call accident because we think that they are crashes. And I think that if we don't take care, these are going to overtake a lot of the diseases that has that we know already. So we have a worrying increasing trend of road traffic accidents with head injuries and various disabilities, which we need to educate people. When we have a lot of these people are breadwinners, they are unable to work again, they are unable to do even their daily activities of living. They are not able to take care of themselves. They become a burden to society. They are also not able to contribute to the economy, because if you have a disability such that you cannot work, it means that now you can't contribute, you can't do work and pay taxes. It means that it decreases even your ability to contribute towards the economy of the country. So I think that in the long term, their lifestyle, it changes your life forever. You cannot work. Sometimes even the head injuries, you cannot comprehend. You lose your memory. So it is a very, very dangerous situation that we are getting ourselves into as far as the road traffic crashes are concerned. You know that people die in a certain order. When there's a road traffic crash, we call it ABCD. A means that airway challenges, breathing challenges, circulation challenges, disability challenges, and sometimes people die at the scene. So you don't even have the chance based on what injury you get. For example, if you have a metal from a car, piercing through your chest into your heart, you die immediately. Or if you have a very big vessel, like a blood vessel that gets injured, you can bleed to death over there. And so we have all these, some people dying on the scene and some people die immediately at the hospital. We call them the golden hour of trauma. I mean, if you're able to get you timelessly with the help of ambulances, you're able to save your life. But sometimes, even in the best of centers, based on your type of injury, open fractures, and there are some that we call polytrauma. It means that multiple areas of the body have been affected. You have a head injury, you have abdominal injury, you have fractures of the thigh, and all these combined makes the outcome, more favorable. So you have a very bad prognostic feature when you have multiple injuries coming together. And I think that we don't wish this for anybody, but I think that sometimes people have to walk through the hospital and see the kinds of injuries. I think it will inform the actions as road users when they are either walking by the roadside or driving or even dropping people off.
Remember to always wear your seatbelt and make sure you arrive alive.
Thank you for staying with us here on the AM show. We thank Mapito Sibidi for the AM News. She is on every weekday to present the AM News for us. Benjamin is here with me. We're going to be taking you through the newspapers. We'll touch base with our online portal, myjoyonline.com, and also filling in on what's happening in the international world as well. Ben, shall we begin?
Well, let's dig into them. I shall commence this morning with the Daily Guide newspaper, and it says 30,000 can't vote. That's according to the EC. I found this one very interesting, Mama V, because so according to what the Electoral Commission has been telling us, these 30,000, they either provided some sort of fictitious documentation with regard to their age, with regard to where they live, and all of that. And owing to these, they will not be able to vote. But my concern here is that you only find out on D-Day, December the 7th, when you go to actually vote. That is where you're going to find out that your name has been, taken out of the register. And it just might come with some legal consequences as well. So those 30,000 people.
What you're saying is that the 30,000 can't know. So we're not sure if you're included
exactly.
or I'm included.
I don't know whether my name is in there, whether your name is in there. So it's a bit tricky. But this is the stiffest. I know I'm delving a bit into the story. This is the stiffest penalty that we've seen from an electoral commission, because in subsequent elections as well, you can't vote.
Oh, I thought you can't vote in this December 7 election.
Not just this December 7 election. Subsequently, you're also going to be affected. I don't know whether there's a moratorium or some time limit, but it's to make it more punitive so that people would move away from all of this underage registration.
This is something that we should spend a lot of time on. But we know that the provisional, the register will be given to the political parties, by the way, sometime. But we should be delving into this matter a lot more.
Another Legon lecturer killer in court. Then Ghana, best place for investors search. That's according to Fitch Solutions, the world-acclaimed institution providing insight on many matters. 10.87 million euros in taxes waived for TVET. Nana opens boom, water retrofit, launches 500,000 cook stoves. On the back page of the Daily Guide, we will achieve great success. Kotoko, Brazilian recruit. Now, some people were joking that he's a carpenter from Brazil. They brought him to play for.
Oh, that was
Kotoko is my team, by the way, so I'm not jamming.
No, wait, but is it a joke or there's some truth in there?
I think it was just a joke. I think it was just a joke. I mean, they wouldn't bring a. He has to have some skills. SEN rallies support for Lampard brothers.
Been a carpenter before too.
Brothers score for opposing sides, and then ISCO caught in the act. You can check out those stories in the Daily Guide newspaper.
Let's do the Ghanaian Times front page. This story in the Daily Guide also making it on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. On the voter registration exercise, 30,000 disqualified for flouting electoral laws. 400,000 businesses apply for NBSSI in Kosovo support. Burkina Faso committed to Accra Ogwa Railway in, oh no, I guess that's Ouagadougou then. Interconnectivity projects, according to they said President Kabori. Okay, that story is on page 13. I guess I have to spend a little bit of time on that. President cut sword for Tema. Siwa Network, a Shaman solid waste plants. Man arrested for stabbing father to death. And this incident happened right here and very close to us in Kotobabi. This man is 29. He stabbed his father, allegedly, who is 52. And he died just as he got to the hospital. And then also his father's wife, but she survived, but she's in a critical condition according to the story. On the back page, President opens housing units for nurses, teachers in Tema, and farmers in the Adan East districts of the Greater Accra region have been urged to embrace the new improved varieties of tomato to increase their production. Full story on the back page of the paper.
I just have a little comment on the back of that young man who stabbed his father and others. One thing we don't pay much attention to in this country: mental health. A lot of people are doing so many things. The mental state of the person is not that good, but we take all of these things for granted until we see disaster. We are people that is not very proactive.
I was actually looking for more in the story. I thought they would link it to something, but doesn't give any more details. So you actually don't know what the father did or what he was thinking. So yes, greatly, I think the mental health issue that we're not paying attention to. I agree with you. The
Ghanaian publisher Defamation Multimedia. There's this story that I had to look at, the Opuni bit, and it's come up again. I'll just take a little look at that later on the show. But relief for Tema residents as Akufo-Addo cuts sought for work to begin on 3-tier waste treatment plan. MPs okay $125 million for Accra Sanitation and Water Project. And then we'll create more jobs in our next term. That's according to the NPP. Anyway, I will not advertise the person. Yes, I'll not give him a free advert. He paid to the Ghanaian publisher. When it comes to pay to us, we'll give him an advert. So I'll leave
Let's
it there.
do the final front page of the Finder newspaper. Today it says President Akufo-Addo commissions 204 housing units. We'll create more jobs, build more factories in our next term. The NPP at its press conference yesterday, addressed by a member of the communications team, Nana Komia. Also, Nana cut sword for 256 million euro, 64-kilometer road, dualization of Ashama Akosombo Road, and more. And then this story, really, Sam Kranchi cautions against violence ahead of elections. He said there was no need for any group of people to take up arms and cause trouble in order to win power, and emphasized that God's hand prevailed in the affairs of men and the selection of the next president was in the hands of God. Can we have some of our prominent people also go back to their communities? So, because we want to send the peace message not just in the church, but also reaching out on the ground. You know, it's become very critical that, all these flashpoints that's been identified by the police, obviously because they don't have the men, we can't be guarding these areas like 24/7. We need all of us to intervene. And so any way that you think you can help and speak to your people, that will be, I guess, help us a lot as we go into this election.
I think
it's heated. Like the tension is really high.
I mean,
really
some people
high.
out there may not really see it, but as I walked through Odododiodio yesterday, Jamestown, and you would realize that, Charlie, we're sitting on pins and needles. And I find it very uncomfortable that every 4 years we have to go through this cycle. And I always remind all of us that, look, in Kenya, who would have thought? Who would have thought? But something else, Mama V, very quickly, all of us have, leadership roles, even as media people. People look at us on television. Absolutely. We should be careful what we post on social media. We should be careful what we say out there, because you never know. There's someone who's really looking up to you and thinks, oh, if she thinks it, if he thinks it,
it must be right.
So let's be careful. The Daily Statesman.
Watching the Odododio videos yesterday, because we've had quite a number of videos. And then I said to myself that, there are some of those people throwing things who have no idea why they are even doing it.
They're just doing it because
they're just doing it.
It's being done.
Somebody's doing it, so let me also just do it. Yeah.
Right, so let's move on to the Daily Statesman. It says, Power Station Retrofit Project Commission. The Akufo-Addo commissions 204 housing units. My only concern, and because I may not have enough time to get back to the story, I just wanted to run this by all of us. 204 housing units. Guess what? It goes back to the Kufuor administration. Why do I find this problematic? It's a good thing, affordable housing. But it appears even in governance, when we target projects, we target them based on our party and, linkages to our party. In Saglemi, I'll not stop saying this. You have over 1,000 units that are ready. You're going to focus on 204 units. When you have over 1,000 there, if there were corrupt practices involved, what have you done to ensure that the due process is followed so that the ordinary Ghanaian can benefit from Saglemi? I don't know how we think as a country. It just irks me.
So that's why I'm excited about our conversation with the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission, and what they intend doing. Looks like they're also trying to get it legally binding as well. So we can see continuous development projects like because now we've commissioned another one. We haven't completed one.
Another one that come December 7, we don't even know whether it will continue, because there's also that need for continuity when it comes to the party. More jobs coming in our next term, MPP assures on the back page. I don't know how the goal was disallowed. Arteta angry as Leicester win at
Are we
Arsenal.
still talking about that? Like,
it's becoming something. And Coleman is also venting his spleen with regard to the VAR.
So what are we saying? Like,
right now, the managers, they are not the friends of VAR.
So could VAR also get it wrong? So now the referee could get it wrong. VAR could also get it wrong.
So here's the thing.
VAR
when it comes to VAR,
gives you an opportunity to take a look at it again.
It's picture perfect. So you get to see. I mean, there are times when the referee back then, he had to use his eyeball or her eyeball. Now you have VAR telling you that maybe even not the entire circumference of the ball crossed the line. You can see it there. Yeah. Even if it's just a quarter left, you can see it there. It is.
So what we're saying is better.
It's just made football less fluid. Now, football has become nitpicky. That's the problem. And some people don't like it. We don't like our football.
No, well, I hated it when they said they were going to introduce, because I thought it was going to slow down the game.
Well.
But I can't believe now that the argument is VAR is unfair.
It will be what it did. Let's move on to some other papers.
Yes, let's do the Daily Dispatch newspaper. 2 candidates representing the Bimbilla constituency making the Daily Dispatch election focus today. And it's 2 constituencies. The Ayawaso East in the Greater Accra region. But first they talk about Dominic Nitiwu, who's the incumbent member of parliament on the ticket of the NPP, and then his counterpart representing the NDC. Well, there's a focus on the 2 candidates. You can read a lot more about it. President cut short for Shaman solid waste plants. Also another story. I guess it's making rounds in all the papers today. I'll leave it here. Mahama to begin 5-day tour of Greater Accra region today. That's on the back page of the Daily Dispatch. That's interesting because we know the president is touring the Greater Accra region.
Yeah. He's actually completed more or less his tour.
Because he just started over the weekend, didn't he?
Region, and now Mahama is coming in.
Has he completed? Because I think he's still on.
Well, that's the rhetoric
that was
we get so far, that he's actually running up. He's actually rounding off in the Greater Accra region.
And then Mahama is coming.
Mahama is now starting.
But see, they're doing this, so you
follow
see that.
Follow the leader.
But it's not, even if you look at the president, so he goes to a place, he leaves, and then the vice president follows.
Yeah.
And then I think Samir Uko also goes. And then you find that the general secretary of the party would also follow.
Right.
And then somehow you see the first lady as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would see the vice leave, and then you would see Nana Jane, follow up immediately from the opposing side. So
yes.
It appears almost as though there were a plan to erode the benefits of the other person.
Absolutely.
This person goes to talk, then this one comes to, do damage control.
Charlie, they haven't been to my area.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in Kutunsi.
Your place is a bit far off. But you know what they say about politicians? They will not bring development your way, not all of them. But when it comes to voting, the ballot box will find its way to your constituency, don't you?
Well, part of my place is in the Greater Accra region, so who knows? Maybe former President Mahama will come there.
Hopefully.
I'm waiting.
Right, let's move on to the Daily Graphic newspaper. Roof over our heads, 204 housing units built in 9 months. I'm just wondering whose heads are going to be under these roofs. Parliament okays $125 million sanitation loan. Casa de Ropa aims at value addition, not raw export. That's according to the CEO. This is a conversation we've had time and again. We've spoken about this for forever. Adding value to our raw exports. Where has that landed us 63 years down the line? On the back page, or maybe I should do the center spread before I move on to the back page. Petroleum Commission trains engineers, geoscientists in skills transfer. UK extends 3.34 million Ghana cedi support to local pharmaceutical companies. Peace Council condemns NPP NDC clash, calls for speedy prosecution. That's something I'm very interested in. And then Obechebi Lamte interchange opens in November. You would recall the first phase of the $35 million project consisting of a 2-tier interchange with complementary storm drains and culverts. That's the plan, and that's on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Mama V. Just one more paper for me, basically.
Sure, go ahead.
So, evidence-based, some of Mahama's legacies in the central region. That's from the National Inquiry newspaper. It also says, I'll provide opportunities for all Ghanaians. Mahama assures no family and friends. December polls, Jean Mensah disenfranchised 30,000 voters. But is that really the case? Because we know that these people committed certain electoral crimes, if you like. And then explosive, Akufo-Addo daughters caught milking the state dry. Again, you need to take a look at that story because sometimes these things are put out there, but the real wheat, deciphering or distilling the wheat from the chaff. Anyway, those are the papers I have. Shall we dig into them, Mama V?
Yes, I'm just looking at the 30,000 names, 30,000 persons who have been disqualified, who would not take part in the December 7 elections. If you look at the story in detail, it will tell you how the Electoral Commission says it would make the list available on election day. So I guess if you look through the main register and you don't find your name, then you can look at the registers, the other register on the side. And that's when you know that, oh, my name is actually part of the 30,000 that's been disqualified, and so I'm not taking part in the election. They cannot register for some time.
Yeah. So that was actually what, not necessarily vote, but it extends to voting, because if you can't register, you can't even vote. You get it? So they will not be able to register or partake in registration exercises for a while.
Well, interesting. Very interesting. I wish there was a way that people could go online and check with this list so that if your name is not there and you still have to contest it or somehow, then you can do it before election day. It will be very disappointing. Somebody genuinely thought that they had registered duly, and then they go on election day and they can't register.
It's pretty thorny. And there's also the issue of multiple registration that also comes in.
Yeah, as for that one, if you did that, then it's your fault.
The circumstances, I mean, there are, owing to the process and all of that, it could be that someone felt he or she hadn't registered and
Charlie,
so went again. There are some circumstances.
If you went to the center and you registered and you felt like your registration was not complete, and so you went to another place to do it, that one there, Charlie, is your own wahala.
Well, so that's a bit of a tricky one there. But let me go to this story. Let me start from the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. On page 3, it says, relief for Tema residents as Akufo-Addo cuts short for work to begin on 3-tier waste treatment plan. This has been a bit of a problem in the Tema area. So I just wanted to take a look at the story. It says, President Nana Akufo-Addo has cut the sort for work to begin on the construction of a sewer network and wastewater treatment plant, as well as a solid waste treatment facility at Tema. Once completed, these treatment plants will enhance management of municipal solid and liquid waste in a more environmentally friendly and sustainable manner. It's also important to bring it up because you know how the housing minister has been talking about toilets for every house and this and that. It's a stark situation when you look at sanitation, especially in the capital Accra, at Tema, when you consider the flow of potable water and all of that. So I see it as a step in the right direction, but hopefully it will be a lot more walk than mere talk.
All right. In the Ghanaian Times, there's a story about Burkina Faso committed to Accra Ouagadougou Railway Interconnectivity Projects. So we've received some assurance from the president of Burkina Faso that all the necessary joint preparatory works towards the realization of the project had been completed. So I guess that's good news in the center spread of the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
I'll go to the Daily Graphic, take 2 quick stories, and then it will be a wrap for me. Peace Council condemns MPP-NDC clash, calls for speedy prosecution. And the Peace Council has condemned last Sunday's clash between supporters of the NDC and the NPP. And it said it hoped that the police would expedite action on the matter. I'm intentionally repeating that. And bring those responsible for the incident to book. Now, Mama V, you've seen that gun-toting gentleman who was just firing into the air. Thank God he was even firing into the air. Who knows what could have happened? There were casualties. There were people who were injured in hospital and all of that. And I'm just wondering what is going to happen to them. But
I listened to the Greater Accra PRO speak yesterday. I guess that would be around the afternoon, and she said they had not arrested anybody. I'm not sure if the story remained the same by close of day yesterday. They had not arrested anybody, and you know, I'm just thinking even the guy who was just shooting like that in the air. It's a very uncomfortable situation, and I guess the disappointment is also in the fact that, oh, the police have already listed this area as a hotspot, is one of their flashpoints. So to think that an exercise like this was ongoing, and they knew very well the routes, and they didn't put enough men on the streets. But then again, when I listen to Efia Tenge, see, it looks like this thing happened after the main people who were going on the march. Because she explained that, you know, when they get to a certain area, there are people who now come out and see what's happening and decide to join. So they had men protecting them, but it looks like this happened when they had crossed this area.
Chunk,
so
the main train
had already passed.
Had passed. And then these ones came in, and that fracas, you know, followed. But interestingly for me, Mama V, these people in the community, they know one another. Oh,
yeah, of course they do. They
know who is NPP and who's NDC. And they know who has done this and done what. I'm telling you that if the police were really looking forward to, and I know that they are, but if they wanted to engage the community, they would be able to fish out that gentleman who was shooting. These people we just saw on the screen, smashing and all of that. I was there yesterday. You'd see a 40-inch television screen smashed. If they really wanted to identify them, people in their own community will tell the police, Asamasini.
Well, the problem is we're trying to identify them in party colors. That's the thing. We're not looking at them as people who did some wrong.
This is a criminal act. It doesn't matter whether the person is
wrong. But if you're looking MPP NDC, then they will definitely not find anybody. We'll be here talking about another situation. Anyway. All right, you said you had one more, then we'll do
It's just a headline. So you remember the Justice Wuni bit when it comes to Canada Japan. The Supreme Court says he was biased towards Canada Japan.
Okay, we're here. Let's do myjoyonline.com, but we know that he's still at the High Courts.
Oh, yeah.
In Accra.
He's not been moved to home. Not yet.
All right. My joy. No, I mean, we haven't heard of any.
No,
there's no hint.
I'm just kidding.
So,
I'm just kidding. Don't get it.
I pray that the Judicial Secretary does not write to you.
Please, I'm not serious about that.
I am distancing myself from Ben. I don't want to go with you. I can't afford to buy a whole page and apologize. Let's do myjoyonline.com. CSOs to go to Supreme Court over Auditor General Daniel Domolovo's forced leave. If you click on the story, it says that a number of civil society organizations, and on Monday they filed a writ at the Supreme Court challenging the June 29 presidential directive for the Auditor General to proceed on involuntary leave. How many days is that? 167. All right, we will pay your rents in our second term. Part of the many other things addressed by the NPP yesterday. So this is Nana Kumia speaking to the youth. Neilante Bannerman calls for arrest of thugs who perpetrated violence at Odododio. Bureau of Public Safety kicks against police protection for MPs. Professor Bennett's murder trial, fresh arrests. Another suspect hospitalized, according to police. And on this issue of Odododio, intelligence and security set up dead, according to security analysts. The disqualified presidential aspirant had ample time to rectify anomalies. The Electoral Commission justifying the disqualification of the 5 aspirants. Akufo-Addo's legal basis for Domolovo leave fatally misplaced. 9 CSOs tell Supreme Court. And then if you missed the Israel Lai story, the household name dictating the pace in media. He's part of our successful 25 anniversary stories. You can check it out on myjoyonline.com.
And very interestingly, just this morning, what he was sharing about, multimedia backing him, on that front where it's between ethics and money. And we chose ethics. That's something very important. But very quickly on Odododio, do you know that since 1992, if you are not a Ga, you will not get the vote. And both parties, MPP and NDC, have always selected Gans. In 92, though the MPP did not contest on the parliamentary level, Mr. I think Ishmael Ayite Tete won at the time. So it's always been a Ga. If you're not a Ga, Odododio.
For dates. All right, we have to make way for sport. But if you go to the BBC page, you know that with a week before the general elections in the US, they've appointed a Supreme Court judge. And I'm just saying this on the back of the ballots that I shared yesterday. These things happen everywhere, the last minute appointments. Even in the US, they've done it. They should not talk about. Okay, stay with us. Ori Kwampo will bring us sport right after this.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the sports segment with me, Oreku Ampofo. Hope you had an amazing evening and having an even better morning. We start off from the local scene where yesterday we did interact with Solomon Asante, and one of the key things that he spoke about was a return to the Black Stars team. Now, he just recently won the Western Open Conference final in the USL Championship with his side Phoenix Rising. And remember, the last time that he played for the Black Stars was in November 2015. But even at age 30, he's still eyeing a return to the team.
As a player, you need to concentrate very well at your club side, which I'm doing that for the past few years. Have been amazing to my club. So I'm looking forward, to play for the national team again. Why not? If I get a chance to come back to play for the national team, I'll be glad. I'll be happy because it's an aim for every player to play for his national team. So I'm still waiting patiently to see if I get the chance to come back again. So far, the team is doing well, and we have a good quality players in the team right now. So I think the team is doing well. I think the coach needs some time, and we need to give him time to to do their work. And I hope in future it's going to be great.
That was Solomon Asante, and he's the captain of USL side Phoenix Rising FC. And just this weekend, they won their second consecutive Western Conference USL Championship. But still on some Ghana football, the Ghana Football Association's newly appointed technical director, Bernard Lippe, says that Ghana would only be successful in the country in the football industry should they start spotting talent at the grassroots level. Joy Sports' Haruna Mubarak has the rest of the story.
Until recently, the juvenile football system has been the backbone of the success story enjoyed by Ghana football. The system produced players such as Abedi Pele, Samuel Osei-Kufuor, Stephen Appiah, Michael Essien, Asamoah Gyan, and many others. Most of these players have played at the highest level, including the FIFA World Cup. However, since the success of the Black Stars in the mid-2000s, there seemed to be a switch in attention to the apex at the detriment of grassroots football. Newly appointed technical director of the Ghana Football Association, Bernard Lippe, is keen on redirecting focus on youth football, as he believes early talent identification will go a long way to improve the nation's football fortunes.
There are a lot of departments which have to be, or parts what have to be developed. It starts with children in the school. Grassroots football must be better organized. Football in schools, more festivals. Then we have to bring it, the best talents on a way. Between 10 and let's say 14 years. We need earlier talent identification there. So we have to define the most talented players already in this age and train them in a holistic way to find out the best talents. Then we have to write programs for all youth national teams to develop them step by step. And if all the country follows this way, I'm sure we will be successful.
The 58-year-old added that identifying, developing, and creating a football philosophy that will permeate through the various national teams will be vital.
We have to find out the DNA of this country. That means we have to develop a national football philosophy where I cannot decide this. I need the help of a lot of people here to define the DNA of this country and then follow a very structured way, through children football, through youth football, and organize everything and bring it through the youth national teams to the top.
The German was appointed by the GFA earlier this month, taking the job from Oti Akenten, who exited the job in March.
That was technical director of the Black Stars, Bernard Lippe, and he would be meeting with all national team coaches as they seek to identify a DNA for the Ghanaian national teams. But let's move to some more stories where Chief Executive Officer of Decathlon Ghana, Kwesi Tabri, has revealed that his team chose to support women's football because they lack support. Well, according to him, it was natural that they only support the women's game.
Decathlon Ghana Limited signed a 4-year sponsorship agreement with the Ghana Football Association, making them the official retail partners of the football governing body in the country. The agreement would also see Decathlon provide 1,000 Kipster balls that will be official match balls for the Women's Premier League. Chief Executive Officer of Decathlon Ghana, Kwesi Tabiri, told Joy Sports why they decided to sign such an agreement with the Ghana Football Association.
If you want to talk about sport, in Ghana, it's football. And if you want to talk about football, GFA is the best partner for us to help us to push our project. So for us, it was a natural deal to try to partner with GFA and try to be known much more and being at every home to try to make sport accessible and football accessible to everybody. But among the partnership, what we really like is we focus on women. And we know how challenging football for women is in Ghana. And I believe that a partnership for women is something great. We can help them also to practice sport. And I always say in our tribes, women are very important. So for me, it was a key topic as a Ghanaian person to try also to push this sport and mainly women in sport.
Mr. Taburi also added that as part of the sponsorship agreement, Decathlon demands visibility from the GFA.
What I demand is very simple. You see, Decathlon, our main goal is to make sure that every single Ghanaian knows us. And to be known, for me, the only thing is to be everywhere in Ghana, and football is the main topic. And I believe that FA will help us to be very known, to be the preferred sport company here in Ghana, and to let people understand that Decathlon, via Keepstar product, you have unbeatable quality product, which are cheaper than the second-hand market. So how can we do so Ghanaian people can purchase very good product to practice their sport?
The agreement between the two parties will see Decathlon invest about 1 million Ghana cedis into Ghana football.
Now, the National Development Planning Commission is set to launch the Ghana at 100 document to guide the government that wins power from 2021. This document, when approved by Parliament, will hold the ruling government accountable to its development guidelines. On the back of that, my guest in studio is Dr. Kojo Esiem Mensah Abrampa, who is the Director General of the National Development Planning Commission. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
So I want us to, first of all, break the issues down, but I want to run by you some of the issues that were raised with the development plan in the first place, 40-year development plan.
Yes.
Are we still sticking to 40 years? Because some people said 40 years was too much.
Let me say that, yes, we're still working in a 40-year perspective. That is the time that Ghana will be 100 years. And that is how we're looking at it in terms of the period. We already gone round the country. This started some years ago. And there's been an interaction with the people of Ghana, all segments and all facets. And it took a whole stretch of about 2 years. The National Development Planning Commission worked on this document, gathered all this data, analyzed it, and then presented it to the president. The president also gave it to a technical team to review it, and then also to be able to include and shape it with the new thinking and the new direction of the country at that pertaining time. This has been done, but this is a very bulky document, and it's more of a technical document speaking to planners, economists, and social analysts and professionals. And therefore, there was the need to bring it to a level that could really interface with the citizens of the country. And therefore, the commission, which is made up of 42 prominent people and intellectuals selected by our own governance process, chaired by Professor Emeritus Stephen Adair, then summarized this, looked at this whole document, teased out, and brought it out to a level that could be relevant to speak to our current situation. And this is the Ghana at 100 document. And that is the name. So the Ghana at 100 document gives a perspective, our direction, our dream, our vision, and what do we anticipate to see at the time that Ghana will be 100 years. What would every citizen of this country expect to see? And that is what has been captured through these views in this document, which will be launched this evening.
Okay. Now, we know that the parties rule, if you like, they govern with the manifesto. So where do we reconcile this?
Ghana at 100 anticipation, the long-term perspective. This is a document which had not been there. We've never done a long-term development plan looking at this whole stretch of that long. We can talk about the plans of, in the past, of the 7-year plan of Nkrumah, the 7 years first and the second, and the visions which have been expressed. So you remember, I'm sure if I take you back to history, the Vision 2020, which was a perspective expressed by the President Rawlings at that time to look at it in terms of the future. Now this document, if you look at it, gave broad perspectives of areas of emphasis, okay? in this new document, it's not just indicating the areas, but we've also worked out the details. For instance, we're saying that if we want to really achieve our economic aspirations by the 2000, we've given specific GDP quantum that we must attain at particular periods. We've given certain GDP rates that we should have attained in order to reach that target. And these things have been technically worked out. We've been able to outline, if we want to be a developed country by the time we're 100 years, this should be our energy production. This should be our transportation development. This should be the line of agriculture development. If currently we're looking at a situation where we have a volume of a GDP, nominal GDP volume of about 300 billion plus, we expect that by 2025, for instance, we should get in the regime of 600 billion plus. By the time we are 100, we expect that this should take us to about 3.4 trillion. So these are perspectives which we've done in terms of projection. And then if these are the targets, what particular area do we look at? What specific activities do we undertake? So these are specific things which lies more with the choice of government. So this is a choice of government. This is the target.
If you say this is a choice of government, because you painstakingly do all these things as a commission that you've outlined.
Exactly.
Now, one would think, why don't the political parties just come to you and pick from your document? It makes it easier. That way we all know that this is the roadmap that we're following and this is what we achieve if we go this way.
It is a very good information for political parties, but it is their choice because we provide alternatives. And that is their choice. They look at all these things and say, given our history and what we have been doing, this is the area where we think we can make a choice and then move faster. Again, NDPC advises, and so it is, the whole country. But the government rules, the government determines.
But if you look at the makeup of the NDPC, I mean, and even if you look at, apart from the current, those who've been there before, these are good brains. These are people with different expertise.
Those who are there.
Exactly.
42 solid brains.
So I'm talking about those who are there now, those who've been there before.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking that who can better come up with a plan and say, let's follow, than brains like that? Instead of, because what we see now, we see a whole lot of promises. And sometimes it sounds like it just comes out once they're standing on that platform. And it's what the people want to hear in that moment. But in reality, that's something that will not achieve anything.
You see, that is the trend of development in democracy. You see, the whole issue of planning is a political, technical interface. And this is very important. This person has been elected and is trusted by the people because of what the person has been able to convey and communicate. Once you are elected, that political thinking only becomes an intention. It is my intention to do this. You need to then interrogate it with a technical dimension. For instance, some of the ideas which have been sold by political parties might have to go through technical analysis, assessing their costs and their benefits.
That's after they've won.
Yes, and that is it. That is it. But the information, in terms of the long term, will always be available, not only for government, but for citizens. And that's why we put it in a document, which can easily be read and understood by citizens. So citizens now will interrogate. If you're presenting a manifesto, if you're presenting any political intention, we interrogate this with the knowledge of what they are thinking in terms of the long-term perspective.
Okay, so let me ask you, we have 12 candidates now confirmed by the Electoral Commission. They all have their visions. How much of what they've told us they would do is in this long-term plan?
Let me say that the long-term plan is a broad perspective. For instance, if you take the economy, it is looking at how we can make judicious use of our economic activities, economic resources, to be able to respond and make sure that we have a buoyant economy. let me just read one interesting one, which I have. This is yet to be launched by my chairman, so let me just make this one.
And this is from the promises, this is from the manifestos?
No, this is from the long-term plan, for instance. Build an industrialized, inclusive, and resilient economy. This is just one goal from the long-term perspective. And we have with the targets and what specifically we have to do and all those things. But the decisions and what has been the intention of these political parties, 12 of them, as you said, might have to then link up. What are they doing economically? What are the alternatives? So we look at it technically. What alternative paths do we not need to take in order to reach what we have said as a goal? And then it's up to the political party, if you win, to then look at the specific strategies which we are going to propose to you. These are the alternatives. They look at it, they see in the lens of what the engagement with the public. And they also have their own sense of direction. They tell you, no, this will not work. Can you look at it this way? How did you work the benefits of that? I think the cost dimension is this way, because they've gone through the country, they've seen it. So they break that dimension, much as we have seen in the lens, the technical lens of NDPC, they've also seen in the technical lens of their political direction. So the bringing the two together, I think, is necessary. If you go just by the technical decisions and all those things about National Development Planning Commission, the National Development Planning Commission might be ruling instead of the elected government of the people. And therefore, the views and the perspective of the elected government of the people is very important, so that the government can buy in this plan. So when the two come together, then it becomes a document of the people, of the people who are represented in Parliament, rather than just a document of National Development Planning Commission.
So can I say that what the parties present to us, and by the way, we have one independent candidate as part of the 12. Can I say that what they present by way of the manifesto is further refined once they win?
It's not just further refined. Their intention is good, and that is their intention. But then it goes to what I call, if that is what you term refined, but the whole technical analysis. Once you win as a government, whatever you bring about goes through technical analysis, because for the country, for us to judge, this is feasible, this is viable, this one we can have the resources for it. This one you won't hang and get stuck at a point because of the resource flow. So we give all these technical advice related to that. And then once the government accepts, and it then moves from a National Development Planning document to a document of the country. So whatever plan, the medium-term plan or the coordinated program is prepared, it is a country document, and that is what Parliament approves.
So is this easily accessible to the people? Because, you know, even after the win, we go back to their manifestos and we hold them to what they've said in the manifestos, but that's not what we should be doing.
You see, it's two things. The plan is always accessible. If you go to the website of National Development Planning Commission, Parliament,
you know how much noise they make with the manifestos and how we're tracking in that now?
We also do that with the plans. After the in 2017, I'm sure a lot of people who was looking at this phase will remember. From June 2017, I told this whole country, led by the Minister for Planning, with the technical team, which went around disseminating what we call the coordinated program of the government. So this is the vision which has been agreed upon technically, politically, and this is what we went around, institutions upon institutions. I remember we had engagement with the press at the Accra International Conference Center, and these are things that we did. So, and it's still there. These documents are not hidden. It's still there. We have copies all over, but that is what we're trying to do. Bring it to the level, move it from the technical level to the level that every citizen who can read can understand and appreciate. And this has been a wonderful thing done by these commissioners, to bring it to a level that we can use it to interact and relate, and people can use it to demand accountability.
So I guess we have been doing it wrongly then. Am I right in saying that?
We've not been doing it wrongly. We've been doing it, but we need to improve. And that is important. And that is what we are doing. It's not just having a technical document and then putting it on the website and then expect that people will read. No, but putting it in the form that can really engage.
Okay.
citizens.
So now we're making it much smaller?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that, and this is to hold the person that wins.
Yes.
This is a guide. This is what they've said they will do. This is
Exactly.
consolidated.
Exactly.
And so that's our plan.
Exactly.
So what we are doing, the 40, what we are doing now, immediately in 2021 would be the 40.
The Ghana at 100 is a moving, it's not something we started just today. We're providing the summary, but this is a technical document. We've been using it to plan. It's been one of the bases. All the information has been there. We use it to develop what we call the coordinated program and also the medium-term development plan, which is a document of the Parliament of Ghana and which is used for all these things that we're doing. You see, let me give you a case. We hear a lot of things about our development and planting for food and jobs, one district, one factory, and all those things. It is not something where somebody just hit the tie and decided that no, these things should come. No, it's a real thought-through process, okay, which was an intent expressed by the government at that time. Let me say the party at that time, taking up, going through the technical assessment, and it becomes a basis for a lot of the activities which have been expressed in the medium-term plan. So if you pick the medium-term plan, for instance, you not see that political color, but you see a program, a policy direction, which represents the country in agriculture, in industrial development, in education, in water and sanitation, in infrastructure, all these in health. So all these things have been expressed in a way that it takes it from just a political intention to a development plan, which has gone through a technical process. The cost-benefit weighed, identified areas of loopholes and tackled, identified areas where we need to face. Sometimes the intention is to do this, the political intention to aggressively pursue this so that people will appreciate. But the resources become a challenge, and therefore you might need to face it out. All these are technical processes which are negotiated and guided. Okay. So eventually, when we say this is a national plan, it is something which has been accepted by the political perspective, through the political perspective, and it also enhances the technical processes which is taking us to our perspective and our vision at Ghana when it will be 100 years.
Okay, just a curious question. Yes. Did the parties consult the commission when we were drafting their manifestos?
Let me say that our documents are there, and they do that. They do that. I wouldn't say that they don't, because I looked at some of the lines, and I could read, some of our documents.
Okay, I'm just thinking that it would cut the time because they also pick people, put them together to do the manifesto.
But it's the broad thing. When it comes to the details, we don't go into that.
Okay.
It's your own party strategy. It's what you're selling to the people. But National Development Planning Commission is saying that this is the direction.
Okay. Good. All right, great. So when are you going to Parliament then?
This document will be launched. Eventually, we're developing guidelines for the preparation. So we're going to do this whole technical process, and I'm sure it is the next Parliament which we're going to present.
So what it means is that this will not be binding on the next administration? Is that it?
Once we send it to Parliament, it is.
Okay, but you're not sending it to Parliament now?
No, now it's not. Now this Parliament is virtually will rise. So the next Parliament is the Parliament that will approve the plan, which will go through their period.
Okay.
And that is it. But the long-term plan, it doesn't need a parliamentary approval, because in our constitution there are two documents which are laid in front of them: the coordinated program and the medium-term plan. But the long-term plan is giving expression in the medium-term plan. It's basically detailing the long-term plan, the medium-term plan. So the medium-term plan is what we take to Parliament. So when Parliament comes, they have 3 months more or less going through this regime, because the plan, we do it in such a way there's an overlap. So the plan that we did in 2018, we have to operate in 2021. So 2022, a new medium-term plan begins. However, the long-term plan, the perspective, is there to guide the process. I hope you get it.
Yes, I
do.
do.
We have a running medium-term plan which will end in 2021. And as soon as it ends, the new medium-term plan begins from 2022.
Okay. Well, I know that, after the launch, the issues will be broken down further on PM Express.
Exactly.
So who is invited to the launch? What time? Venue?
It's a very fantastic thing. This is a debate which has been hanging for a long time. The manifestos vis-a-vis the long-term perspective and development needs of the people. And this will be chaired by the chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Professor Emeritus Stephen Adair. And the keynote will be delivered by Professor Peter Korte of University of Ghana. Issa is a popular name. And there will be two discussants. There will be Professor Joseph Achu Ayi, and this was the former Dean of Social Science. I mean, one of the most written persons. He's published so much on political science and planning in this country. And I'm glad he happened to be my professor. and with all the experience to bring and discuss this. He's also joined by Dr. Esther Ofeabuaji, who was the director of a local government institute before she retired, and is a member of the Star Ghana Foundation. So this is but it will be at the African Trade Center. African Trade Center is close to British Council, and this is the tall building there which houses Exim Bank and also AFTA, African Continental Free Trade Area. So there are about 3 of them, but look for the African Trade Center, which has the AFTA and Exim Bank. Cozy hall, very, very cozy hall.
The way you describe it, is there significance, the choice of venue to what you're doing?
These are new directions, new institutions which are really pushing us to the new direction. Exim Bank, the name tells you immediately where we're going. And then AFTA. AFTA is the new thing, continental thing. The other thing is that we will go by the protocol, COVID protocol. So make sure you have your mask. We'll have sanitizers there. Cozy conference room. I've been there several times. And then those who cannot join us can also go to a Facebook at NDPC. There'll be a live coverage by Joy, FM, Joy News.
On television.
On television, live coverage. So we also send out already invitations to people who can join us through Zoom. So it's all technology, all presence. And let's come and look at what Ghana has for us in terms of 100 years and how this can interface with the political discussions and intentions that are going on.
Has COVID-19 also pushed the commission to be technologically compliant? Because you're talking about Facebook, you're talking about Zoom.
We are. And we're taking going with the wind. And a lot of our technical people are now working from home. And they're doing wonderful. The outputs have improved drastically.
Great.
And we are on prompt in some of these things that we're doing. And it's because we're making very good use of technology in our area. And our chairman is technology minded. Professor Day is very, very much technology minded. So we're taking, going with the wind. And we know that with the support of this plan and what we have experienced, the support from the government, Ministry of Finance and others, we'll go to the next level.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
We'll wait for it. What time again did you say?
It's 5 p.m. 5 p.m. So after you close from your offices, your businesses, come to the African Trade Center and let's have an evening. It's just 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours of discussion. And this is very near the business area. So just come and let's all join. And we're happy Joy News will be there to put it live on TV. So even if you're not able to join us, on physically there or on Zoom or on Facebook,
you still can follow on television. Well, thank you very much for your time this morning. My guest, Dr. Kojo Esiam-Mensah Abrampa, Director General of the National Development Planning Commission. Now you know, after the win, don't still go back to the manifesto. Don't still go back to the manifesto. You can go to the plan itself. But there will be more later this evening on PM Express. We also have the 2020 Barredo Memorial Lecture Conversation to have, but we'll also spend time with the Ghana Bar Association. That conversation is up next. Oh, thanks for staying with us. My guest is the Ghana Bar Association President, Mr. Anthony Kwamina Forson Jr. A very good morning to you.
Morning.
Good to have you in the studio. But I wanted to talk about the impacts of COVID-19 and the legal profession. Is it having any impact?
Oh, absolutely. It is, both in the practice of the law, the dispensation of justice, access to the courts. It's been massive. But interestingly, both the bench and the bar are on an innovation trajectory. So we are working, even though we are working from different angles, we are just moving in the same direction. If I will start from the bench, at least the Chief Justice has introduced something which is on a pilot basis called the virtual courts, which is going to handle small applications. So lawyers can sit in their offices. The judge will also be in his chambers, and the process can continue. So definitely this is one of the innovations which the Honorable Chief Justice has brought. It's on a pilot basis, which is led by Justice Badegbe of the Supreme Court and Justice Elena Mwa, a very hard-working judge of the High Court. So that is one thing. If you look at the IGF of the Judicial Service, it came down at a point to about 1/3, which means a lot of people are not filing cases. And definitely, if people are not filing cases, it will affect the finances of lawyers. So the impact of COVID was strong. However, on the flip side, we have some others who also got good business in the sense that there were contracts for renting of hotels, etc., and all these things are legal issues. People wanted legal opinions on the effect of the executive instruments. So that was also work which had been created by COVID. So I guess it evened out a bit, but definitely it affected us adversely.
Okay.
But we are working towards restoring parity in our economic fortunes.
Are we back to normal in terms of justice delivery?
Pretty much. There's strict observance of the COVID protocol. So once you are going into the courts, you have to go through all those, and there's spacing in the courts. But I think the judges are back to work almost at full steam. Yes.
I want to bounce the issue of vigilantism and the security issues, the concerns with Ododo. I mean, the fact is you're into the legal profession. You also need a peaceful environment to work in, just like all of us. So Ododo must concern the Ghana Bar Association.
It must concern everybody. Any act of violence is unacceptable. You see, as I was coming here, it's strange that a certain verse in the Bible, Philippians 4 verse 8, where Paul says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are beautiful, whatsoever things are of good report, think of these things. So whatever you are doing, you think of your neighbor, whether it will be good to him, whether it will be fair to him. And violence is totally unacceptable. There's nothing that we cannot discuss, even if we disagree. Well, we didn't make this world. There must be space enough, even in this place, for all of us to express our deviant opinions. So it's totally unacceptable. Anything which connotes violence must be condemned in no uncertain terms, and it must not be encouraged. I think that I had a statement last week that the IGP was saying that the security forces will come down hard on anybody, and it should be so, irrespective of political coloration.
But this is not the first time that we're seeing something like that.
It is not the first time. It does not mean that it should continue.
I remember the Ghana Bar Association issuing a statement with what happened in Kumasi with the group that stormed the courts.
That is right.
Did we see it fully investigated, proper conclusion, and people brought to justice so that we can be assured that this won't happen again?
As the president said, projecting into the future is always difficult. However, I believe that if there's enough punishment and deterrence, it wouldn't encourage anybody who is minded to do the same thing again. Well, I believe they went through the process, and the records are there to show what happened. I believe firmly that that is one of the areas that we fall short as a country, in the areas of discipline. Because yesterday I was with Bernard Avle, and he was saying that we have so many laws. And I said, you know the answer. The answer is that when somebody infringes the law, instead of the law taking its full course, then you see pastors, elders, friends, brothers, you know, and that is what distorts it. Because if one person does something and is not punished, of course, it encourages the other person. But if one person does something, and the bigger he is, if he is punished, the next person will say, oh, if this person has been punished, then I must be careful because I'm a smaller fish. So that is where we are as a country. I think that going forward, we must be more serious. Because sometimes even the courts do their part. And when the courts have done their part, then all kinds of influences come in. So
I have to ask you, I mean, since you're a learned person, how else can we deal with the issue of Ododo?
More education. More education. So the National Commission for Civic Education, the political parties, the leaders themselves, because a lot of people look up to the leaders. So if the leaders take it upon themselves to preach understanding, to preach tolerance, to preach the fact that, look, we may be different political parties, but we all aim at the good of the nation. But we are just going different routes. It's just like making light soup. Some may start with steaming the meat, some may... but you end up with a light soup. How it tastes is what the voter will, you know, assess that this light soup is better than that light soup. That's all. So it's a matter of education and focused education. Last week, the police was saying that they've seen so many flashpoints. Yes, once you see once you see the flashpoint, then there must be a concerted effort with all the stakeholders to ensure that there will be peaceful elections. Because who will you blame? You cannot blame the government, you cannot blame the opposition, but somebody is blamable. And that person who is blamable is the lack of education, in my view.
Do we have enough lawyers in the country today? Take Greater Accra out.
No. No. We still need some more.
So you must be happy with the recent...
But we just don't need lawyers. We need quality lawyers. We just don't need lawyers. Because you see, whenever somebody entrusts a case to you, he puts his life and soul into your hands and pays money or does not pay money. That does not matter. Therefore, whatever you give him must not be short of perfection. That is my view. So we need lawyers, yes, but we need quality lawyers. Because, trust me, people die every day from shoddy lawyering. But because, you see, there's no causal connection between a death and a bad lawyer's performance, people don't really know. With a doctor, there seems to be about 1-to-2 or 1-to-1 correlation that, oh, a bad doctor killed him. But a bad lawyer may lose a case and the person will just be sitting in the house and, The next time you hear he's dead, then you hear people say, oh, Wanyari. But when you trace the cause, it may be some family property that is lost, some business that is lost. And sometimes, well, that will lead us to professional indemnity insurance, which is on the way. I've seen that the National Insurance Commission is working on that. We need quality lawyers.
So if I feel my lawyer is not handling my case well,
yes,
can the GBA do anything for me?
What will it's a contract
the
between
Ghana Bar Association. That lawyer belongs to the association.
Yes. If you can show that his performance is not good, that is controlled by the General Legal Counsel. So, of course, you can report his
You've got a complaint unit, right?
We have a complaint unit as well. Yes, you can tell us, we can call the lawyer and go into the matter, but we don't have the disciplinary powers which are resident in the General Legal Counsel. So what you do, and in fact, that is one of the reasons why the lawyer locator is a good thing, because once you get a lawyer, even though we don't guarantee that he's going to give you good service, at least you can make informed inquiries as to who that lawyer is. At least the lawyer locator will tell you when he was called to the bar, his area of practice, which he puts out. And you are free to ask people that, oh, Mr. Anthony Forson, does he do well? Some may say yes, some may say no. And you make the choice.
Yes.
Now
that you mentioned the lawyer locator.
Yes.
If I am in, say, Sunyani.
Yes.
Can your lawyer locator help me find a lawyer?
Sunyani is too close. Korea. Because it's an online tool which will help you go into the database of the Ghana Bar Association from any part of the world and choose a lawyer that you are looking for. If, for example, you know Kojo Nkrumah, you know Nkrumah is a lawyer, but you don't remember his first name, you put in Nkrumah, all Nkrumahs will come out.
Okay, so I wanted our viewers to follow what we are discussing.
Yes.
So we've gone to your website.
Yes.
I want to use Papa Kowakwe.
Right.
All right. So we show us where to go. It's on the screen. Find a lawyer.
Yes, find a lawyer.
Okay. Can you please type in Papa Kowakwe? But why have you done this? Why is this necessary?
We felt that after we had reformed our internal processes using ICT, it was necessary also to reach out to the public, to help the public look for lawyers. Now, with the onset of the COVID-19, now it became an imperative because people don't interface a lot. So instead of going out to look for a lawyer in his chambers, you could reach him through the email on this portal. Tell him that, oh, my name is so and so. I would like to engage your services. My matter is in the area of contract law. Once you send that information to the lawyer, it lies within the lawyer's discretion, either to get back to you or not to get back to you.
Okay. But doesn't this amount to advertisements because you're not supposed to be advertising as lawyers in Ghana?
Yes, that is the legal position. However, the International Bar Association has approved a certain level of advertisement which has been taken on by the General Legal Council and approved. Therefore, a lawyer is at liberty to put his name in any legal directory without more. So your name, area of practice, and that basic information is acceptable. It is unacceptable to say that, oh, I'm the best lawyer in communications law or I'm the best lawyer in land law. No, that is totally unacceptable. But it is acceptable to put out your name. Mama V, I do land law and I'm situated at Kokomemle.
Okay.
That is acceptable.
Okay, so I changed my name. I'm going for Martin Pebble.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to put in Martin Pebble, and you can do this wherever, like you said, even if you're in Korea.
Anywhere.
Okay, but the issue has been finding lawyers in other places apart from the Greater Accra region in Ghana.
Yes.
You see?
So the lawyer locator also tells you the area of practice plus region of practice. So if you are looking for a lawyer in, say, Tamale, you put in Tamale. All the lawyers in Tamale will come up.
Okay. All right, so we've got Martin Pebble. I see two Pebbles, but I know the person I'm looking for, so that's him.
Right.
So what do I do? So the 2007 represents what?
It shows the year of call.
Okay.
Yes.
And we know he's in the Greater Accra region.
That's correct.
All right.
So once you click on his name, you should get a contact lawyer.
Oh, okay. I think you should go to the name. Okay, the name of the firm. So let's click on this, and this is what will show.
Yes.
Oh, second floor, World Trade Center, and that's exactly where he is.
Contact lawyer.
Okay.
So his email address will come up, and you send him a message.
Oh.
So he will see this message in his office without you having to go to his office. So we've saved.
What's the response time?
That is dependent on the lawyer, because the email, once the email gets to him, he decides that I don't like Mama V, the name Mama V. I'm not going to respond. Well, too bad, but at least you've located Martin Pembo. You've given him a brief synopsis of your case.
Okay.
And he can also reach you. Once he reaches you, the confidentiality starts. Without even paying money, the confidentiality starts. And the contract will be formed at that point.
I guess this is one of the reforms.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This has never happened before. We started with the online
renewal
of your solicitor's license. That was a major issue because The license is between 1st January and 31st December. So after 31st December, all licenses expire. So by 1st January, if you don't have a license, you cannot practice, which is a criminal offense if you should do. In fact, I benefited myself because I think last 2019, on the 7th of January, I hadn't renewed my license. And we had a major case. So sitting in my office, within 8 minutes, we renewed the license and were able to do the case. Otherwise, I would have had to shift it to a lawyer who has a license to start the process until I get a license. And before that, the licenses could take up to 2 months. So assuming a client walks up to you and maybe in your haste or desire to help, you issue the writ without the license, the whole case will be struck out.
We've seen there was a famous one that we saw it happening in the
and
court.
Assuming the limitation period was closed, that client's matter is finished forever, unfortunately. So these reforms, which of course we've put the database of all lawyers since 1877 onto any lawyer, any person who has been a lawyer, yes, it's on the database.
Okay.
From 1877 to those who were just called to the bar in April. We've put all of them on the database. So everybody has a unique bar number.
Recently, you said something, and I remember asking my colleague, our court correspondent, to monitor and give me feedback, but I'm not sure I was successful with that. So I have something that I want to show you. My director is going to put it on the screen. And this was attributed to you, refraining from showing too much skin. Bare arms are generally frowned upon in the office and never appropriate in court. Skirts or blouses should always be buttoned so that cleavage is never revealed. There's another one, by the way. So bare legs are never acceptable in court, and neither are open-toe shoes. Anything flashy, such as large gaudy earrings or sandals, are also inappropriate. So I wanted to ask you, isn't this being complied? Is anybody flouting that? For you to come out and say it again, re-emphasize?
You go to church, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What the pastor does is to tell you what is in the Bible, which has not been amended. Okay? So it was just a reminder. If you see the speech, it was a 13-page speech, and page 7 is dressing at the bar. That was the heading. So I went through how men should dress and how ladies should dress. And at the end, if you have the speech, you see that this admonition also goes for judges. So there was no complaint in the statement. It wasn't that I was picking on men or picking on women. I was just stating what the obvious, what a lawyer is supposed to do. That is it. Unfortunately, some of the reports were totally inaccurate.
Well, I thought that you had made some general observations in courts, and so you were reminding your colleagues of...
Of course, as bar president, you get judges calling you and complaining about A or B or C. So you don't pick on individuals, you don't pick on individuals and go in for them. What you do is to remind everybody. And that particular paragraph started with that. The law is a conservative profession. Then it goes on. This is the general standard from the bar, the Law Society of England, all the bars have it. So it was just stating what is, not my view. What is. Unless the General Legal Council decides to amend the code of dressing, I'm just stating what is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is that being breached?
Not to my eyes, but I can mention senior lawyers who have spoken to me and complained about this. Therefore, I felt that as at the end of the year when we are assessing ourselves, we need to remind ourselves of our basic ethics. Sometimes we speak about lawyer-client relationships, sometimes we speak about discipline. So this year I said, okay, let me put in this so that we remind ourselves.
But I'm just curious, if anybody goes against it, what happens?
If anybody goes against it, a judge can refuse to hear you if you are inappropriately dressed. So that will be a sanction. And I know for a fact that some of the senior lawyers, especially the female ones, sometimes caution the younger ones when they see things which are a bit untoward.
Okay.
But it's a process of we all helping ourselves. And without profession, you always need a senior to mentor you. And invariably, you will see that people who were mentored by certain persons tend to follow even their style of dressing. Because I can tell you, you see the president puts his handkerchief over here. Several of the lawyers who trained at Akufo-Addo Prepare put their handkerchiefs here. You see, it's something that you take after your senior.
Okay. My colleague Ben is just reminding me that the new Attorney General of Malawi wears dreadlocks, but you would say it's a jurisdiction issue, isn't it?
Well, I'm speaking to Ghanaian lawyers. But I don't think there should be anything wrong with dreadlocks per se. I don't think there should be anything wrong. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's one lawyer in Winneba who wears dreadlocks.
Oh, okay.
He's practicing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you for your time. In the absence of anything that you want to share with us, we've gone through your lawyer locator. Yes. Maybe sometime we can get some feedback on that.
Yes.
Because now that we've shown it, I know that a lot of people will try it and then they'll give us feedback. So if we have anything, we will just bounce it off you.
Right. Thank you. Like you asked, I would pray that our political leaders, our traditional leaders, our spiritual leaders, all do their best to educate people on the fact that an election is just a matter of choosing. There's nothing like fighting over a disagreement. That's why we have the courts. That's why we have the ADR tribunals. If there is a disagreement about something, yes, you can speak to the top of your voice, but there's no reason why one person should raise his hand on another person. That is what I will say.
Well, it's a shame, right? Because I've been criticizing the Ghana Bar Association and I couldn't even raise the issue with you here. So thank you very much for your time.
Anytime. Feel free. If there's anything you don't understand, you can even send me a text.
Okay, let me say it. Because, you know, there are people who have said that.
Yes.
Today's Ghana Bar Association is not like what we used to have. You haven't been as active as even before the 90s. Throughout the 90s, we had a very vibrant Ghana Bar Association.
Yes.
What would be your reaction to that?
I've answered that question severally. The situations are different. Right now, Ghana has accepted democracy as a way of life. Back then, there was the fight for Ghana to return to democracy. So definitely, the eras are different.
Okay.
Right now, we have so many civil society organizations looking at human rights, so many things. Therefore, our concentration is one, giving our clients a good service, ensuring the nobility of the profession, making sure that justice is delivered on time. So the focus is a bit narrower than before. I don't have to go and fight the president over not being democratic. The people or the electorate will decide after 4 years. So the epochs are different.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Welcome.
And that's the Ghana Bar Association president. Coming up next, Advocates for Christ Ghana has put together the Alternative Manifesto Forum. Ben has that conversation up next.
Welcome back on the AM show, and more content coming your way. Now, the Advocates for Christ Ghana has put together the Alternative Manifesto Forum. This forum or this platform brings together political parties, media, civil society, and other key stakeholders and provides an opportunity for the Christian community, who actually constitute over 70% of Ghana's population, to give critical input and feedback to political parties and actors. All very interesting, right? Well, we're joined now by Edem Sinanu, who chairs the A4CG, as they call it, and he joins us via Zoom at this point in time. Mr. Sinanu, thank you very much for actually joining the conversation this morning. Let's start by finding out how you're doing. I see you right over there. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, Advocates for Christ Ghana, you're a growing movement of professionals, parents, pastors, and others, all of whom are Christian, by the way, seeking to provide a permanent and proactive voice on national issues in Ghana. But tell us, what exactly is your vision? What exactly is your mission?
So our vision is to be a lead Christian organization in the country, promoting the consolidation of biblical values in all sectors of national life. And so that's a core area. We're just looking at how we can get values into what people do, especially since the country is 70% Christian. We want to see those values clearly reflected in what we do in various sectors of life. In terms of our mission, we're focusing on policy advocacy, capacity development, and prayer on issues that affect the nation. And working together with other Christian organizations in order to achieve this.
Very interesting that you mentioned that. Now, you also talk about the 70%, Christian population of Ghana. One thing that I'd like to run by you, you would notice that in the history, the annals of our country, we've never had a non-Christian president. Some people say that Hela Liman of blessed memory was Muslim. They think so. He wasn't actually. He was more traditionalist than anything. We've had some vice presidents who have been Muslim, yes, but by and large, our leaders have been Christian. Now, it is a good step that you are embarking on this drive, but how do we get more out of our leaders who, by and large, have been Christian? Mr. Senanu, did you hear the question? Okay. Mr. Senanu, I'm going to recap the question, but I just want to find out whether you actually heard. You can hear me now. Mr. Senanu, can you hear me? So we're going to try to reconnect with Mr. Edem Senanu, who chairs the A4CG, and he joins us via Zoom. The entire concept is simply to influence political decisions, parties, leaders, and all of that, but from an apolitical stance, and also to provide this alternative manifesto. That is the plan. So we're connecting with Edem Senanu once more. I'm going to run that question by you once more, sir. So, Edem, can you hear me? Right. So we're going to try to reconnect with Edem as and when possible. But we did talk to you earlier about those Banredu lectures, and the event takes place on Thursday, the 29th of October. That is at the Kofi Annan India ICT Center right here in Accra. The theme, protecting the public purse, the media, and fighting corruption in the Fourth Republic. You know what, how much of a grave situation it is dealing with corruption. Well, Charles Reku Brobe is the host of that event, and that is the Banredu Memorial Lectureship, and he actually joins us now for a conversation on that beat. So we're going to be interacting with Tarzan, like we call him, Charles Reku Brobe, and we shall take it from there. So we're joined right now by Tarzan. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on the AM show. Hello, sir. Mr. Reku Brobe, can you hear me?
How are you?
Right.
Good morning.
Great to have you this
Seems to be
morning.
A delay.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for connecting with us. Now, I am assuming this is maybe since we're calculating from 2016, about the 7th time we're having these lectures. I believe it started in 2016. Let's just start with a bit of a historical backdrop.
We started in 2014, and this will be the 5th lecture in the series.
Right. So we've been doing this for quite a number of years now. Good. Thank you for that clarification, sir. But even before we delve into what we're going to be discussing on Thursday, I'd like us to take a look at this hydra-headed problem of corruption its ripple effects on everything, the moral fabric of our country, of underdevelopment, and how it is siphoning billions out of our country. What would you say, basically, is the positioning now when it comes to Ghana and our fight against corruption?
I didn't hear that too well. What did you say? Ask Ghana.
Mr. Rekubrobe, so I'm simply saying that years down the line we've organized this event, but in terms of our battle against corruption, we still have a long way to go. How far have we come, basically, and how much farther do we have to go from where you sit?
Well, we're well over 60 years. If you were a normal adult human being, we'll be into our retirement. But it looks like we've been finding one excuse after the other to continue to be regressing instead of progressing. But if we were to get into that conversation, it will probably take 2 mornings. But I think part of the problem is that we think that somebody should drop development from heaven like Moses dropped the tablets.
Right, right. Well, interesting perspective there. Now, in 2018, for the third lectures that you actually organized, you had the Auditor General, Daniel Yaudomelevo, speaking, and you actually spoke about catching the horse before it bolts when it comes to corruption. Don't you think the horse of corruption has already bolted in Ghana?
Well, the issue is that right now we are very excited about what's going on. Everybody is talking about elections and monitoring it and talking a lot. But what we don't realize is that this only happens once every 4 years. We get a chance to vote somebody into power, and because of the way our constitution is, essentially whoever we vote into power can do whatever they want, unless, of course, somebody is holding them to account. But unfortunately, the structure of our constitution is that the parliament is effectively under the control of whoever we elect as president. The judiciary, despite whatever we claim to be independent, is chosen by the president. So when we get into the issue of who we should hold to account, really the only reliable institution we can rely on is the media, because they are not selected by the president and they are not bowing to the president. So in between elections, what I call when we go to sleep waiting for the next election, we need a very reliable watchman. And that watchman has to keep the eye on whoever we vote for. But unfortunately, we don't seem to get as much excitement during the intervening years after elections as we give to the election itself. So people get away with making promises that they do not keep. More seriously, because of the way in which they seek power, effectively having to buy power, sponsored by patrons and bribing electorate to buy power. At the end of the day, they are belonging to too many people, and the tendency tends to be repaying their election debts tends to affect the integrity of the management of the country for which we have voted them into power. So we need a very strong, genuinely independent institution that keeps the government into check when we are all sleeping and waiting for the next election. And interestingly, I'm old enough to know that it's only in the Fourth Republic of Ghana that we've had a plural press, a plural media, a plural broadcasting media, where we are getting different perspectives from different organizations instead of relying on just the one state monopoly called the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. It allows us to make a better choice or to become better informed, but it's more important that once we've chosen the government, that they keep an eye on how the government is doing. And it is that, for me, is the most important function of the media, that they watch over the government while we go to sleep. And so, in this kind of situation, it's important that we get accomplished, dedicated, and useful practitioners who will examine everything government does, ensures that they do it according to the laws of Ghana, ensure that they put the public interest ahead of the private greed.
Right.
And it's very opportune for us that this year we are blessed with having one of the most accomplished practitioners of this watchman's role in the Fourth Republic to share with us their own ideas and vision of how they've managed, in a sense, to keep power under control, keep power under account, and ensure that the promises they give us, they deliver and they perform as set down in the law. But more importantly, it also coincides with the idea that we need to cherish those who go into public office, very few of them, and are recognized by everybody as having a high level of integrity and able to put their public service ahead of the personal greed that informs too many of our political classes. I have been fortunate in being involved in the Fourth Republic right from the get-go. And in my view, the most accomplished public servant I've had to come across has been Kojo Banredu, who was incidentally a minister in the President Kufuor government, first as local government, secondly as education, and finally as the one who was holding the public purse of Ghana as the Minister of Finance and Economic Development. And I had the pleasure and the fortune to work with him in his last role. And I do not think that the kind of exemplary public service that he showed in managing the public purse of Ghana deserves that, even though he died in office and is no longer with us, we should recognize and establish and memorialize the kind of good service that he displayed.
Right.
You know, there used to be a very famous Ghanaian who used to say, is Ghana worth dying for? Well, maybe Mr. Bayredu did not die for Ghana in office, but the achievements of integrity, hard work, exemplary service, etc., ought to be recognized so that it can be an example to others who need to know that public service is actually a service.
Right.
It is not an opportunity to dip your hands into the till and make yourself richer than making the public good much better served.
Well, Doc, this is where we're going to have to wrap up, but we're very grateful for your time, Dr. Charles Reku Brobe. He is actually host of the Bayredu lectures coming off on Thursday. We are now joined via Zoom as well by ace investigative journalist Manasseh Azure-Awene. He's actually going to be the speaker on the day. I was talking to you that a short while, some years back, we had Daniel Domelevo, our Auditor General, as speaker. Well, this year, it's going to be the man, Manasseh Azure-Awene. Manasseh joins us via Zoom. Manasseh, thank you very much for connecting with us this morning. So, since Dr. Reku Brobe has already told us about what exactly is going to happen in the memorial lectures and all of that, let me find out from you. What are we to expect come Thursday?
Well, there is a saying that if the drummers are coming towards your house, you don't run to face them or meet them. So I cannot say much except to promise a very candid conversation on the issue of corruption on the part of the media and some of the challenges we face as journalists. We are part of the problem, and I'm going to explain that on Thursday, God willing. But also there are external factors that make it very, very difficult for people who decide to dedicate their lives to fighting corruption face. So I can promise a very candid discussion and undiplomatic. It will be said as it is. Those that need to be called out will be called out so that we can look at the way forward.
Well, Manasseh, to wrap up with you, of course, you've faced quite some challenges in your own, investigative journalistic journey. The likes of Anas Arima-Yawanas, the likes of Edward Aditi, who conducted that investigative piece that exposed the regional minister, so to speak, among others, have been at the wrong end of some people in power. What would you say, just to give us a snippet, is the way forward? Is it more protection from the state? What is it? Give us some snippets at least, Manasseh.
I think we will need a leadership that is tolerant. And I've written about it before. I did not start investigative journalism in the Akufo-Addo regime, but I can say this is the regime that makes it more fearful to do the kind of work we are doing. You've mentioned Edward Adeti. I have faced some myself. You've seen Anas. You've seen this guy, the murder of Ahmed Swale, and a host of issues. Even civil society members have not been spared in recent times. So all that we are asking for is give us the peace of mind to be able to do our work. We are already sacrificing a lot. We are already facing a lot of attacks from the people we fight. So if we have a government or an administration that is not tolerant enough to dissenting views, it makes it extremely dangerous. You see what happened to some modern Ghana journalists. I never thought Ghana would experience any such thing in the Fourth Republic. And nothing has happened to the people who arrested them, kept them, and allegedly tortured them. I asked them a week ago, and they still have their laptops and also phones with the national security. This is unacceptable. And I think the president we have, his body language has not shown much tolerance like the one I personally experienced under the presidency of John Dramani Mahama.
Well, thank you very much, Manasseh Azuri Awini, and I wish you the very best as Speaker on the day. Do deliver. Well, that is Manasseh Azuri Awini. Now, the event is slated for this Thursday, actually the 29th of October 2020. The venue is the Kofi Annan India ICT Center in Ridge in Accra. The time is 16 hours GMT, 4 o'clock. It's the 2020 Bar Redu Memorial Lecture. But let's quickly go back to that conversation we were having earlier with Mr. Edem Senanu and the Alternative Manifesto Forum, A4CG, actually, A4CG, as they call it, providing an opportunity for Christians to also give their input as far as political parties are concerned. Mr. Senanu, welcome back. So we're discoursing on your mission and vision, but tell us a bit more about the program. What are we looking at? What is the date to take stock of? What is next for the Alternative Manifesto Forum?
Well, the date is Wednesday, 28th. That's just tomorrow. It's at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. What will be happening is that we'll have political party representatives, civil society, Advocacy for Christ itself will be there. Media will be represented a lot because we're trying to put this message out across to media. We will be looking at 12 sectors of the economy, starting from governance and law through economy to finance to education, health, environment, agri, and what have you. The intention is to examine very closely the two major political parties, their manifestos, what they've put in there, compare them to what we believe as Christians ought to be the key issues going into an election. And our take is that there are many areas where there are gaps that the citizens of this country want to see change, which have not been covered. And we want to be able to follow up with them to ensure that we are influencing the kind of change that moves this country forward.
Well, Mr. Senanu, thank you very much for those details. And of course, you're all invited to participate in the Alternative Manifesto Forum. We're actually going to take a bit of a breather now after that conversation on the back of it. Entertainment, some showbiz coming your way shortly. Do stay tuned. We'll be back.